So since you said the word projection, let's move on to psychological projection and what that is. You can call into your mind that pyramid. We've decided to make it a matrix before, but just for the sake of simplifying, we'll call into mind our pyramid. We have our more privileged folks at the top, the people that aren't growing up in traumatizing environments, people that may be more white, more male, more wealthy, that are up at the top, and then people that are seen to have less value across the board in different areas. Female people will not be, the top of that pyramid. Non-white people are not going to be the top of the pyramid. Poverty, transgender people are going to fill in somewhere along the lower levels of that pyramid. Often, the pain of the invisible top, not necessarily the white men and women that we know, think way beyond, like really reach for like privilege and power and wealth. Think along the lines of those folks. The pain of the invisible top is projected onto and carried by the invisible bottom, okay? So the perhaps unethical actions of the people all the way at the top, wealthy, powerful, we don't know them. Wealthy, powerful are, the burden is being displaced onto people at the bottom. So with regard to projection, I really like the phrase, if you spot it, you got it, okay? Think about some historical characters, pop icons that get you really emotional. And it can be good emotions or like really bad feeling emotions too. The quality that we see in them, whether it's good or bad, is something that we have, but that's been pushed away. It's an aspect of ourselves that has been shamed by others, something in our identity that we then wanted to hide, okay? And we've become blinded to these qualities within ourselves. Interesting. We do this on purpose. As babies, we need to be accepted by the group in order to survive. What happens to a baby if it's not accepted by its group?
Nice.
Yeah. So, as protection, as we cut off parts of ourselves and push them away, we're not able to see them anymore. Often we can be taught that they're bad because they get pushed so far away. So I have a couple of examples. Were there any pop culture icons or people that kind of jumped into your head that were making you a little emotional?
But I do not pay attention to pop culture, so I'm
Okay.
the worst person to ask.
We tend to point the fingers at people that we don't think that we identify with. So this is my list. Maybe not particularly. I chose Justin Bieber. I'm a little old to be in his pool, but NSYNC, whoever. That could be the person that I fangirl over. So what am I seeing in him? I see some smiles on Zoom. I see someone who is important, talented, he's special, okay? If I'm projecting that onto him, making him more special than me, I might be having some stuff come up. There was an emotional need that was suppressed here. It was maybe in my house, I'm not speaking particularly on my own behalf, but it's possible that in my house, it was bad to feel confident or be outspoken or take center stage, okay? I might have heard things growing up like, how dare you think so highly of yourself, or be more humble, or you're ungrateful. And it may have developed that way because what would be the motivation for the person saying this to me? What will people think if I have the loud kid? What if my kid isn't as pleasant as the other kids? People will think I ... I'm a bad parent, or I let my kid run the show. Real life things. It's not good or bad, but just feel into it. Let's go to some more debatable characters, okay? I chose the Grinch. Here's our second example, the Grinch. The Grinch is the face of greed. Scrooge McDuck, whoever. I guess he's only McDuck in the DuckTales version of that story. The Grinch. We might look at Grinchy people and say, or have heard in our past, don't be so selfish. You're so needy. There are starving children around the world. We look at Grinchy type people and we start to rank order ourselves. It might also become available to me that if I'm pointing the finger, being careful not to point at anyone in the room, if I'm pointing the finger at a Grinchy type person, someone who I think is greedy, I might not even be able to see my own greed. And it's certainly there. I am not so evolved that I do not desire money. These things are there. It's not bad to claim them. All right. We warmed up with the Grinch. Let's go for Hitler. Okay? Someone who is manipulative, violent. Okay? We're going to use him as an example. If we were to look at Hitler's life, and you don't need to have read Mein Kampf to know this, he was extremely self-loathing. Take a look at that. Who did he persecute? And who was he? Who was his salient identity? Okay? So this historical character had extreme self-loathing. He had a very abusive childhood. He was brown-haired, brown-eyed. He was Jewish. Notice how that trauma, unhealed, escalated into targeting that, okay? It grew out of control.
I have something to contribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for example, like fat shaming.
Yeah.
You know, people that fat shame other people usually have a, forget the term, but they feel that they're not physically attractive enough inside. So they constantly point out things that they perceive to be not attractive in other people.
Mm-hmm. It's a way of rank ordering ourselves so that we can feel safer, more grounded, more in control. I can feel valuable about myself. And this is not just some people. This is every person. Every person is hiding away something about themselves, okay? It takes work to be able to see this. It's not comfortable. And if all of this workshop doesn't sink in on day one, that's okay. Let's start to move forward and go into our small group discussion topics. I'm gonna pull them up on my computer. I'll read them all. My first one is overt racists, the one that you think of as being like in the KKK or like Yosemite Sam. The overt racists and our BIPOC communities have a lot of shared wounds. What are they? Where do their perspectives overlap? In what areas would it serve them to team up? What actions would both benefit from? 2, Black and brown people are exploited around the world. Use your creative mind to notice where and how. Is there a remedy to this? 3rd question. Groups across the matrices and hierarchies of privilege and oppression are being used against one another. Who is at the top? Who is doing their bidding and how? Where is a healthy pathway? Number 4. A commonly held belief is that receiving handouts will damage people. privilege and receiving a handout are very similar ideas. What can you say in defense of this? What can you say in rebuttal? How can privilege be as damaging as receiving a handout? And number 5, on our small group breakout sessions, what does it mean when someone is not able to see their own privilege? How would this person be best served? How will you know when helping is appropriate? And what kind of help would be appropriate to provide? So if you're watching the playbacks for this, I'll do my best. If you're watching it on YouTube, I'll make sure it's in the chat that you can see the discussion questions. And if you're watching on Zoom, I'll make sure that it links with a Dropbox to these questions.